Welcome to the AlphaCars Service Center. My name is Ian, and today we're talking all about the potential oil pump failures on the BMW B58 engine family, specifically from the 2018 to the early 2020 timeframe, commonly referred to as the Generation 2 B58 engines. We have a vehicle right here behind me with this failure. We have the oil pump out of it. I'm going to tell you the story behind this car in this video, and we're going to show you this pump. We're going to inspect it so we can learn how they fail. And we're going to learn also what we need to know about this potential failure and why it's a great idea to have your vehicle inspected to maybe catch this in the early stages or prevent it altogether by getting the updated oil pump installed in your vehicle if it's within this affected range. Let's walk behind me to this 5 Series. This is a 2020 BMW 540i. We can see it's heavily torn apart. We will get more into that in this video, the heavy disassembly that is required to get to this component. And this engine is shared in a lot of the BMW family, from the 5 Series, 3 Series, X3, X5, and more. So if your vehicle falls within this range, as I mentioned, this is definitely going to be a good watch. You can learn about the potential issue and how you can avoid it and save yourself a bunch of money by getting this done before it fails and takes your engine with it. Later in this video, we'll also go over the potential cost, the cost of just having the pump replaced with an updated unit versus the cost of replacing your engine with a used one, with a new one. We're going to get into that later in this video as well. So we are car enthusiasts here. That's why we take this seriously. Let's get into the video now, and we're going to deep dive into this potential issue that you've probably seen all over the internet. First, we're going to start with the oil pump itself. We're going to get to know it, learn a little bit how it works and how it fails. Arguably, this might be the most exciting part, is seeing how this works and seeing the carnage in here. Let's get right into it. In this oil pump, so this exterior cover plate has been removed. We have this darker component here, you can see, and this, depending on how it moves, that adjusts your oil pressure. This is a variable displacement pump, meaning the vehicle's DME, or the brain of the vehicle, will request a specified range of oil pressure, and depending on how this darker color component gets pivoted in here, that adjusts your oil pressure. So that means at a higher RPM, it will adjust so it's not making too much oil pressure, and at a lower RPM, like let's say at idle, it can produce a higher oil pressure than it normally would if it was stuck to like a linear pattern. So I've explained how important this component is. Now we're going to learn this component is plastic, and that's what fails on these pumps. Check this out. This should not be in pieces. This should be one piece, not being able to take it out. And there's actually this piece right here. Look at that. This piece is actually, it's another piece that's broken, and there's fatigue and stress cracking going further down into there. So you might be wondering, why is this plastic? Well, that's really up to BMW, why they decided to try making this plastic, I guess. But the fix for this is getting the updated oil pump, which is all metal. That's the fix. So if your vehicle falls within this range of that 2018 to early 2020 build date, you would definitely want to have some of the testing done. There's actually some diagnostic tests you can run. And if you catch some of this fluctuating oil pressure, or a lot of times when these fail, they produce too much oil pressure, you can catch it early before it totally fails and you have no oil pressure, which is what takes out your engine. So we do highly recommend doing that. We can do that here for you at AlphaCars if you're in the New England area. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about this vehicle behind me. This is kind of going to be story time of why this vehicle is here and what happened. So I have a little cheat sheet here with some information about the vehicle. Of course, it's a 2020 BMW 540i. It has 73,000 miles, which is relatively low for this platform. It's a very, very good platform, apart from these affected oil pumps with the plastic. inside of them. This vehicle has been very well maintained. It has had no absence of care or maintenance. The engine inside is squeaky clean, as you'll see in some of these video clips on your screen. And well, what happened, you might ask? The owner of the vehicle, they had a low oil pressure light come on while they were driving. And the reasonable thing to do would be to take it back to the shop that might have done the last oil change. And that's what they did. So they had the low oil pressure light come on the dash. They drove a little bit. The engine was running totally normal, no abnormal noises, which is a good thing. And they got to a safe place, shut off the car, had it towed. They had it towed to that shop that did the oil change previously a few months before. And from what we are told, that shop pulled the oil filter and reinstalled it. And then they told the owner of the vehicle, hey, it's full of metal. You need a new engine. We're recommending a new engine. Everything needs to be replaced. So the owner of the vehicle wanted to get a second opinion, and we're glad they did. So they contacted us at AlphaCars. We're very familiar with this platform of BMW, and we knew right away, just talking with them on the phone, that this potentially could be the issue, right? So they had it towed to us, and immediately, before getting all into the diagnostic time and pulling things apart, we contacted BMW with a build date and the VIN, and BMW told us that this car should have the metal pump. Obviously, that's incorrect. We pulled the pump, and it has the plastic component in it. So, we contacted them, and we still ended up having to pull everything apart because we thought whether it was the oil pump or not, there's definitely something going on. Especially that would be a very uncommon thing if this did have the metal pump for it to fail, because those are very, very good and very reliable. So then we dove into the diagnostics here. We did the inspection of the oil. We found no metal shavings. We found no bearing material. The oil filter was clean, and the engine did run without any abnormal noise. It ran very smooth. Then we moved on to the oil pressure testing through the BMW ISTA software, which is the dealer level diagnostic tools we use here at AlphaCars, our service center. We did the oil pressure testing, which is what I just said. At the hot idle, the DME, which is the vehicle brain, the target oil pressure requested is 30 to 40 PSI. What we saw actual pressure was less than half of that. But the important thing is it still had oil pressure. Now at 1500 RPM, the DME requests a target oil pressure of 60 to 70 PSI. And once again, we saw less than half was reading actual. And we did confirm that with a mechanical oil gauge as well, oil pressure gauge. We were reading it through the diagnostic software using the onboard sensors of the vehicle, but we also confirmed it with the external mechanical gauge hooked up to the proper place on the engine. So it definitely had low oil pressure. It definitely pointed to a possible issue with the oil pump. But like I said, the good thing was there was no abnormal noises, and it did have oil pressure. It had just enough oil pressure to save the engine. So we ended up doing all of this work. Now let's check this out. Let's come over and see everything we had to do to get to the oil pump. Obviously, this is the little gear. This gear is what, with this chain off of the crankshaft, this is what spins the oil pump, what drives the oil pump. And you can see the front end of the car is just like, it's all gone to get to this. And you can see on the ground over here, there's all sorts of things. The whole front subframe comes out. This model of vehicle with the X-Drive system, this is the front differential, and this bolts to the side of the oil pan, and this long axle actually goes through the oil pan. So whether you have this issue or you have a leaking oil pan gasket, that's why it's so expensive and so labor intensive to fix that. You might think, oh, it's just a gasket, why is it so expensive? Well, all of this has to come out. The oil pan and everything doesn't come out unless the whole subframe is dropped, which also supports the engine with the engine mounts. So this engine is being supported from above with the component that goes onto the shock towers and hooks onto the engine. So this engine is being hung from above right now. And now let's get into the cost a little bit. So we're very happy for this vehicle owner because they brought it to AlphaCars, and we figured out, I'm gonna show you a video clip right now. We figured out the engine does not seem damaged. You can see through the bottom of the engine right here, which I'll show you the video clip I just mentioned. The cylinder bore there's no damage. You can still see like the cross hatching, it's very clean. Same thing with the top end of the engine. We didn't find any metal shavings, we didn't find any engine damage. So luckily, the oil pump on this engine failed in the way where we can do this work, replace the oil pump with the updated one that won't fail, and the owner will be on their way, and they just saved a bunch of money. So how much money, you might ask? Well, this sort of repair, doing all this work, dropping all these components, getting this out of here with the updated pump, depending on where you are in the country and the labor rate, that's gonna be around $6,000 to $8,000 to have this like exact work done, what I'm describing here. Now, if you gotta replace the engine, a used B58, with unknown service history, with around 70 to 100,000 miles, they're anywhere from like $6,000 to $11,000, and that's just the engine. And the same thing, that engine's an unknown quality. Some of them might be tested or they might guarantee something, but the best bet is your engine that you've been maintaining that came from the vehicle from the factory. Now, a new B58, that's 20,000 plus. If you can get a new one in a crate from BMW, like if you went to the dealer, that's over 20,000 for just the engine. Never mind the labor, which give or take 20 hours to do an engine replacement at the average shop cost now of like $200 an hour. That's around $4,000 in the labor on top of that. So I actually came from the BMW side of things. Before AlphaCars, I worked at one of the highest volume BMW dealers in New England. So I was around these cars when these cars were pretty much new and in warranty. So this is definitely, a step back in my history being under these a lot. So it's kind of cool to be in here. But also I'm very familiar with this issue, what it can do, and how fortunate, this vehicle owner is that, this is how it ended up for them. So, you decide, would you rather have this happen or do preventative maintenance, where you might spend $6,000 to $8,000 in preventative maintenance, but you're gonna save yourself $15,000 to $25,000, plus the inconvenience of a broken down vehicle. It can be a safety issue as well if the engine dies and you're on the highway or something. So you gotta take a lot of this into account. And that's why we're making this video, to just inform you so you can make an educated decision if you might have one of these vehicles within this model range. So, at the end of the day, we're very excited for this vehicle owner. They're gonna get their 540i back. It's gonna have great oil pressure and be good, really for another 80,000 miles plus without much trouble. So if you enjoyed this video, if it was helpful especially, please leave a like on it. It goes a long way to us. It makes us feel good inside when we see some good feedback on our videos. If you have this concern with your vehicle and you're in the New England area, even if you're not in the New England area, we actually have certain vehicles that we specialize in, like Mercedes G-Class vehicles. We have them shipped to us from all around the country. So don't hesitate to reach out, even if you're watching this from not in New England, but especially if you're local. If you have this concern with your vehicle, if you have a BMW vehicle with the B58 from this range, don't hesitate to reach out. We'd love to help you out, give you the peace of mind that things are working as they should, or maybe give you the recommendation to say, hey, most likely it's gonna save you a headache. Let's do preventative maintenance, get on top of it. Even increase the resale value of your car. If you have the documented work, that it has the updated pump, that would really increase the value, go a long way to the next owner who is the discerning owner looking for the quality vehicle with the preventative maintenance done. So do keep that in mind. Don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're enthusiasts here. We like talking to everybody. So make sure to subscribe, support us making this fun content. And with all that being said, thank you, Justin, behind the camera, for filming today, and we'll see you in the next video.